Good evening, Internet. It's me, DP Knudten, for another edition of BOOKWARD BOUND, my 301 live stream daily journey from I should really write a new book to done by January 1st, 2021. And it all started on March 5th of 2020, a couple of days after I got back from going to Social Media Marketing World, where I determined that my previous year's resolution to do more live streaming needed to really be kicked into gear the following year. And so on Friday, March 5th, I did a live stream kicking off the writing of a brand new book. And my thought process was that I looked it up, and there were 301 days left in the year. And I thought, that's enough time for me to write a new book. And I would like to have a new book ready for next year's Social Media Marketing World so I could share it with some of my friends and stuff like that. So, and I need to kick off my live streaming in a big way. So, I'm going live. And that night, I did the first of what is now, I think might be episode 91, 91 consecutive days working to advance my book forward in one form or another. And what does that mean? Well, that means some nights I'm writing, other nights I'm editing, some nights I'm designing or configuring or formatting the book, all that various stuff. But the whole point is I'm moving the book forward one bite of the elephant at a time. And so that's what I'm doing here tonight. So your question should be, hey, DP, what are you going to be doing tonight? And my answer to that is, I'm thinking about something like this. Let's head on over to Scrivener, the application in which I am writing this book. And last night I wrote a section called A Penchant for Plaid about Jay Baer. Jay Baer, very cool guy. Just had him on or did a recording session for the NONFICTION Brand podcast yesterday. And so I was inspired to write about him in this section called A Penchant for Plaid. I think what I'm going to do tonight is go ahead and read through it, looking for gaps, misspellings, grammatical errors, typos, that kind of thing, because I really would like to wrap up this section of the book and give it, well, look over here. Let me get my head out of the way. And you can see that there's a yellow flag icon for this section. Well, what that means is that I've written this section. It may not be completely done, but it certainly needs to be fleshed out before it gets to the next type of flag, which is the blue flag, which means the section has been written. So let me show you up here. The section has been written, but it needs to be final proofed, fine-tooth combed, if you will. And then finally, when that's done, it gets the coveted green flag. So tonight is going to be about taking this from yellow to at least blue, if not all the way to green. Cool? So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to be talking at you because, and this is one of my big tips when it comes to writing a book, write it vocally. Some people will write to be read. I write to be read aloud. And so I will constantly read over my copy out loud to see if there are any stumbling points or obstacles or sections that just aren't that smooth. Reading it aloud is the perfect way to find out if your copy is clean and flows and has the right tone and tempo and style and all that stuff. So that's where I'm starting right now. So, A Penchant for Plaid is the name of the section. I'm double checking that is in fact 16-point bold. Yep, that is. Jay Baer, lovely man that he is, has a chronic condition over which he has no apparent control. The dude just cannot get enough plaid. So much so, if you happen to see a man strolling down a street or hallway wearing a colorfully loud plaid suit, it's probably him, and I'm not kidding. That's true. But before we go too deep into a discussion about the package, let's get a brief sample of the man inside. For a complete look, head over to the website. So I've already read through this, and I need to get quotes. So I really can't do this section until I get the quotes from the podcast. What is a pull quote? Well, basically, it's a verbatim quote from a conversation, interview, or whatever that you pull out and highlight in a bigger way. So I need to get those pull quotes. So I take back everything. Oh, wait a minute. I see something I can look at. In my mind, Jay Baer has visually branded himself to a level very few have reached. Think about it. Who else has a look that is so completely tied to the man himself? To the person themselves that you'd be able to recognize them in a room. Let's say across an airport concourse. Maybe the physician Sia with her face covering fringe, or who's got a recognizable hairdo that never changes? Or Patrick Stewart's bald head. I don't like the Patrick Stewart thing. Seriously, the only characters more visually branded than Jay Baer are citizens of the Marvel or DC Comics universes. Is visually branding yourself a personal branding superpower? If you ask me, read Jay Baer, the answer is yes. Should you be thinking about visually branding your personal brand? Without a doubt, yes. Do you need to invest in a whole new wardrobe? No, you do not, for there are many different ways to visually brand yourself, as this true story about my friend Neil Schaefer can prove. Not can prove, but proves. Your web presence should have a distinct logo, color, styling, varies. Maybe you've got a signature look or feature that distinguish you from all others. Remember the late, great country singer Johnny Cash? What was his universally known Yeah. What did he wear every single concert, TV appearance, even other? Yep. Comma, black clothing. Yep. Black clothes. Black clothing. Different styles. Do you need a whole new wardrobe? Effectively as J. Bear. No. No, you do not. Brand yourself as this true story about my friend Neil Schaefer proves. If you're the only one following the rules, it's time to break them. I have adopted Social Media Marketing World in San Diego as the one conference that I will gladly pay top dollar to attend. I have learned so much from so many there that it's become my must-go-to for new ideas, energy, contacts, and inspiration. This last year, 2020, was no exception, as I was able to attend mind-expanding sessions with the likes of Rory Vaden, Park Howell, Paul Raimondo, Pat Flynn. I'm going to put Melanie in there. Paul Raimondo, Pat Flynn, and more. One of my favorite presentations was by my friend Neil Schaefer on the topic of influencer marketing, how to maximize your ROI. Having already attended a number of sessions, I was intrigued to see that Neil's presentation was fully branded with the colors, typography, and styling, and graphic styling. Styling of the conference itself. Why? Because none of the other speakers did the same. The final night of the conference, I had the opportunity to talk with Neil, and I asked him about his brand versus conference brand visual look. He told me that the conference required speakers to use their template, their PowerPoint. Template. I said, that's funny. No one else used it, and went on to give my 2 cents about it. Give him my 2 cents regarding regarding how it was in the conference's best interest to be a house of brands rather than a branded house. A house of brands is all about you eat what we serve you. A branded house. But a branded house. The whole house of brands versus branded house thing is all about maximizing brand value. But it's always a question of what brand, of which brand, of which brand. In the case of Neil, I passionately advocated for him to maximize his personal brand visually via every slide in his presentation. As I explained to him, we were already at the conference venue, so how did it benefit either him or the organizer or the conference organizer to make his presentation look like every other presentation at the event? And actually, the event benefited greatly from having a variety of recognizable personal brands that worked, personal brands, that worked collectively to elevate the event's brand, by lighting, quality, quantity of its speakers, quality and diversity. Let's say diversity of its speakers. Is this making sense to you? If not, just answer this question. Which supermarket is more valuable to you as a grocery buyer? The one with only store brands, or the one with a vast variety of best-in-class brands in every category? For most people, the supermarket with the best of the best is far more attractive and valuable. So my question for Neil was, why would you ever want to package yourself as a store brand? That's a pretty provocative thing to ask of someone who just did exactly as he was asked by the event organizers. But hey, that's my brand. That's my brand. Guess what? Neil contacted me several weeks after the event to collaborate on creating a fully Neil Schaefer branded look and feel for his presentations. He realized that he was doing that what he was doing as a nice thing for the event actually weakened his personal brand long term. Long term. Once he heard that no other speakers were doing this, were using the requested template, he jumped at the chance to enhance his brand while actually doing the same for the events brand at the same time. A conference of house brands is nowhere near as interesting, valuable, Interesting, valuable, attractive, and I'm going to put valuable as the last one. Interesting versus attractive or valuable is one that braced branded house of brands. Approach. And I knew we were onto something very good when Neil relayed an event Booker's response to his new and improved presentation look. Wow. That's really branded. Why? Yeah. Why, yes, it is. And the brand is Neil Schaefer's. All right, so I can't really do, yeah, I got to leave it yellow. Got to leave it a yellow flag because I got to get those pull quotes out of the recording from the podcast. And I'm not going to be editing. Well, maybe I should edit the podcast. I wasn't planning to have him in the schedule for the podcast until maybe the end of June, but maybe I need to bump him up a little further. But then again, I also want to get some pull quotes from Roger Wakefield, who I'm going to be writing about. I've already written about The Expert Plumber on YouTube, which is a very cool story. So, yeah, this is really getting to be kind of cool because I'm sitting here with it's a feast of material now, where before it was like, what am I going to write about? Now it's like, how am I going to fit it all? And the whole thing is, that's a wonderful problem to have because anything that doesn't make it into this book just might have to go into a next book. Cool, right? Right. Well, and that's one of the things I'm finding out by coming down and working on this book is I sit upstairs and I go, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to work on tonight. And then I get down here, I start looking at Scrivener, which you can see right here. And I start looking at the sections going, wow, look at all these red things I have to write. I know what I want to say about them, so I could just literally pick one at random and start doing a rough draft for any of these things. I started changing these over to wanting to get them fully finished and stuff so I can start seeing how many pages I have done. Because I want this book to be about 250 pages tops, maybe close to 300, but not more than that. The economics of self-publishing a book over 300 pages doesn't make any sense. So I need to start paying attention to how many pages I actually have. Because it was funny, I was listening to a podcast today, a speaking podcast. It's the Speaker Lab with Grant Baldwin, by the way, I would love to get Grant Baldwin on my podcast because I think I would love to tell his story about how he built his personal brand as not only a professional speaker, but a teacher, trainer, encourager, coach of professional speakers. And his podcast, The Speaker Lab, is really, really great, especially if you want to add public speaking to your roster of activities, to your menu of capabilities that you might offer other people. I was listening to that today, and he was talking to someone, and that somebody, I can't remember who it was, said something I've heard multiple people say on that specific podcast. And he said, well, basically take your presentation, get rid of half of it, and that's your presentation. Because, and I am a huge, I do this all the time. I can't think of the word. I always put way too much stuff in my presentations and then spend the last 10 minutes going, oh, we got to go through this as fast as possible, or, oh, we got to skip this, and this, which leaves people going, wait a minute, that looked cool. I want to find out more about that, which is not bad. Always leave them wanting more. But it's also, don't take a fire hose on people. They don't really appreciate it. So that's true when it comes to this book as well, which is I want to put a ton of value into this book, but I also don't want to overwhelm the reader. So how do I know when I've reached that kind of 250 page, close to plus minus whatever page length or book length? Well, I have to compile the book in Scrivener to see how many pages that it actually will turn out to be in a 6x9 book. You know, the form factor of the book is going to be the same as my first book, Rotoma, the ROI of Social Media Top of Mind, 6 inches wide by 9 inches high. And inside, you can kind of see that I think I did a word count in here, and the maximum amount of words I could get on the page was around 400. I want this book to be aired out a little bit more, maybe 300 to 350 words per page. So I need to discover how many pages I actually have, how many words I've got written. And the way I can do that is by compiling everything I've done in Scrivener and then seeing literally how many pages there are. So I kind of need to do that. And to do that, I'm locking down some pages by giving them the coveted green flag of completeness, which you can see up here. But then I have to look at some of these sections and go, well, maybe I won't be talking about all these people. Because some of these people aren't getting back to me. I'm talking about you, Pelpina Trip. Been trying to get you on the podcast forever. I think she's not that into me. Okay, cool. No problem. There are plenty of people that are. But I also want to contact some other people like Rhett Scholl. Rhett Scholl. Of course, you aren't watching this, but I want to get you on the podcast so I can get you in the book. And frankly, that's one of my big tips too, is if you have a podcast, you can ask people to be on it. You can then learn all about them. And then you can turn some of the learnings, I hate the word learning, some of the things you've learned from them, you can plug them into a book or other properties, blog posts, etc. So this is all part of the content creation cycle. And it's also part of why I'm going to be signing off tonight, because the reality is I'm coming down here every single night, and I have for 91 consecutive days. If I come down here every single night for 91 consecutive days and write for 4 hours, I'm going to start resenting this book like the big pain in the butt it kind of is. Instead, I'm taking these bite-sized chunks out of the elephant called Nonfiction Brand, discovering, crafting, and communicating the nonfiction brand, or the completely true, completely you brand you already are. And I'm going to have that book done by January 1st, 2021 for uploading to Amazon's Kindle Direct Publishing platform so that I can self-publish them myself for getting out to the world at large. if I write too much every night, I'm going to not want to write anymore. So instead, I'm going to spend about half an hour every night. Right now I'm at 30 minutes, 38 seconds. And say, you know what? I advanced the book forward tonight. So that's good enough. So that's my long-winded way of saying I'm done for tonight. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which you can check out they're right now, I think 93 episodes up, and you can get all of them wherever you get your fine podcasts for free. So check those out. New episodes come out every Monday at 3 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So be sure to check those out. Monday's episode is going to be featuring Dana Sanchez, a friend who I met at Social Media Marketing World. And it turns out we have a lot in common, and she's really got a lot of energy, and I love talking with her and learning more about her. So you can too by listening to the podcast, and I invite you to do that. Thank you for helping me by making me come down here and work on this damn thing. Because if it weren't for you, I might be sitting upstairs going, instead, I'm sitting down here talking to you. But that's it for me tonight. Thanks very much. I'll be back here tomorrow night. But in the meantime, theme music, take us on out. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.